types of footings, and what is the basic design principle for design of these combined footings. Okay. We have seen this particular figure. Okay, we have seen this particular figure in which we have seen that if footing is resting on a sand, the pressure distribution will be as shown in this first figure. Okay, that is, it will be convex, concave type. Whereas if the footing is resting on clay, then the pressure distribution will be convex type. Whereas for simplicity in design, what we will be doing, we will be considering that the pressure distribution over throughout the length of your footing will be uniform throughout. Okay, this is only our assumption that the pressure distribution is uniform, because it will be very difficult to analyze and design the footing considering every soil type has different soil types. There will this type of distribution is for first figure. If you see, this will be for sand only, that is not for non-cohesive soils, whereas the second type of distribution will be for clay soil, that is cohesive soil. Therefore, if we have sandy clay, then the pressure distribution will be different. If we have silty clay, then we'll be having some different pressure distribution. Therefore, for simplicity, what we are doing is we are just considering the pressure distribution as uniform. Okay. Now the basic principle for design of this combined footing is that we'll be will be considering designed in such a way that the centroid of your footing area in plan will coincide with the center of gravity or centroid of your loads. Okay, which will create some uniform pressure distribution. Okay, we'll see what is this basic principle is. I think you can see this figure here. Now what we'll be doing while designing. Now what we will be doing while designing is, let us consider, just a minute. Just a minute. Okay, let it go. Now what we will be assuming is that for getting the uniform pressure distribution, if this is your footing, okay, if this is your footing and these are your two columns, let us consider we are having two columns here like this. We'll be having some two different column like this. Okay, so what we will be doing, some load W will be acting on this column and the second column. In plan, if we see, in plan it will be something like this, sorry, in elevation it will be something like this. It will be your footing, base, your footing base will be something like this. And some, this column C1 will be here. Again this column C2 will be here. Let us assume C2 column is here. Okay, so load W1, this load W1 will be acting here, and some load W2 will be acting here. Consider this is column C1 and this is column C2. Now the basic principle, what the basic principle says, it says which results in uniform base pressure distribution. Okay, so we'll design this particular footing in such a way. Let us assume that the centroid of this particular W1 and W2 is acting here. Okay, the centroid of these two loads W1 and W2 is acting at this particular location. So what we will be doing is that, let us assume this is x bar, that is distance of centroid of this particular load. So what we will be doing, we will be keeping this particular footing in such a manner that the centroid of this load will be coinciding with the centroid of this footing area. So now this footing area, the centroid of this footing area will be somewhere here, right? So what we will be doing, we will be just moving, we will be just moving this particular footing in this fashion. Okay, so what we have got now, we have got this particular centroid which will be coinciding with this centroid of this footing will be coinciding with the centroid of this particular load. Okay, so this will be something like this. The new column position will be different, some different column position will be there. Okay, so in this manner we will be fixing the positioning of column and footing. Okay, so basic principally we will be coinciding the centroid of your load with the centroid will coincide with this. Is the basic principle. Now we'll move forward. Now while designing while designing your footing, what we'll be assuming is that the bending will be taking place in both the directions. That is, the bending will be taking place in this transverse. The bending will be taking place in this transverse direction. At the same time, the bending is taking place in this longitudinal direction also. Okay, if we see here, the bending in this direction is hogging bending. Okay, this can be considered as a hogging, and this will be your transverse direction. This is your transverse direction. So in transverse direction, what we will be doing, we will be considering is that this portion is a cantilever portion. This particular cantilever portion is resting on some column, and it is subjected to some uniform pressure distribution. So it will be, this portion will be acting as a cantilever, separate cantilever. It will be acting as a separate cantilever, and both these cantilevers are resting on this particular column. We will be designing this particular footing as a cantilever beam which is resting on some column, longitudinal direction. This will be your longitudinal direction. This is your longitudinal direction. Okay, so now in this particular longitudinal direction, what we will be doing, we will be considering this as a beam, okay, which is resting on these two columns. So this, your footing will be acting like this. This is your footing position. This is your column C1. This is your column C2. Okay, if we invert this, what will happen? This will become a beam. Okay, and this portion will become a beam. This will become a beam, and this beam is resting on this column C1 and this column C2. This portion will be cantilever portion, right? This portion will be again cantilever portion, whereas this particular portion between this column C1 and C2 is supported on column C1 and C2. So this will be cantilever portion on this side, again cantilever portion on this, and whereas the in between portion will be supported on column C1 and C2. Now if you see this bending portion, if you see the bending portion, the bending here is hogging bending. Okay, the bending pattern up to this column A, consider this as column A or C1. Okay, up to this point the bending is hogging bending. Okay, like this bending. Okay, so therefore whatever bending moment develop here, that will be positive. That will be positive because the bending pattern here is hogging bending. Again, if you see this particular portion, if you see the bending pattern will be like this. Okay, bending pattern will be like this only. That is, if you see the bending pattern will be like this, means here will be having some hogging portion, then sagging portion, and then hogging portion if we are having two columns. Now if you again see this particular portion, this is again hogging portion, this is again hogging portion, therefore this will be again positive bending moment. Whereas if you see this particular region between this column A and B, between this column A and B, let us consider some different colors. Between these columns A and B, if you see this particular region, in this particular region, you can see that this particular region is bent like a sagging. It is bent like a sagging portion. Therefore, whatever bending moment which are developed here, that will be negative bending moment. This will be negative bending moment. So, for this particular portion, for this positive bending moment portion, the positive steel reinforcement, that is main steel reinforcement, will be provided in the bottom face. The main steel reinforcement will be provided in the bottom face. Whereas if you see this, again if steel reinforcement will be provided in the bottom face. In the bottom face, if you see this central portion, if you see this central portion between this column A and B, the main steel reinforcement will be provided at the top face. So we will be having two reinforcement. So some reinforcement will be at the top face, some reinforcement will be at the bottom face. Again, we have to provide. Again, this will be for longitudinal direction. This will be for longitudinal direction. But at the same time, we have to see that we are having some bending moment in this transverse direction also. We are having some bending moment in this transverse direction also. Therefore, again we have to provide some steel reinforcement in the transverse direction. If you are seeing this as elevation, then again we have to provide some steel reinforcement in the transverse direction also. So we will be having two meshes, one top mesh and one bottom mesh. So in case of isolated footing, if you have seen, generally there will be only one mesh. If depth of footing is less, then we will be having only one mesh, that is bottom mesh, which will be placed like this. But in case of your combined footing, we will be having two meshes, one top mesh and one bottom mesh. Okay, at the same time we will be providing some transverse reinforcement at the top mesh also and at the bottom mesh also. Okay, so this is how we will be providing the steel reinforcement. This will be how the bending moment will be, bending moment diagram is drawn. This is how the shear force diagram is drawn. Okay, so in transverse direction we are considering cantilever. In longitudinal direction we are considering some portion cantilever, some portion resting on column, again some portion resting as a cantilever only. Okay, so this is how we will be designing. This is basic principle. Now we'll go to our design. We'll start with the design. Okay, just a minute. Now, how will be positioning this to that is how will be fixing the position of your CG of load. If this is CG of load, then this will be CG of your footing. Okay, this will be CG of your footing. In case of rectangular footing, the CG will be at the L by 2. This CG will be at a distance L by 2, right? This particular center of gravity or centroid for this particular footing will be at a distance L by 2, whereas this load should act at a distance L by 2 for, or this centroid of this load should be at a distance L by 2 in case of rectangular footing. So we will be positioning this particular column A and this column B in such a manner that this CG of this footing load, sorry, the CG of this load should coincide with the CG of this particular footing. So we'll be having two what we call is we'll be having two portion or extension beyond this column. So the on left side we'll be considering this extension or extension as A1. We'll be considering this as A1, and the extension of this footing beyond this column B2 will be considering that as a A2. We'll be considering that as a A2. Now, if we want to calculate this X bar, we'll take the summation of moment of all the forces about this center of this column A. Then we will get an equation. X bar is equal to W2 into small l divided by W1 plus W2, where W1 is the load on column A and W2 is the load on column B, whereas this small l is the distance between these two columns. So we'll get some X bar as, take this X bar by using this particular formula. X bar is equal to W2 into small l divided by W1 plus W2. How this X bar is derived? We have taken moment about this column A, so that if we take moment about this column A, we get X bar multiplied by W1 plus W2. This will be equal to, we are taking moment of this W1 plus W2, that is, which is acting at the centroid of this footing. This will be equal to the moment of this load W2 with respect to this A column. So this will be L multiplied by W2. So we'll get this X bar. This will be equal to X bar is equal to W2 multiplied by small l divided by W1 plus W2. So this is how we will be calculating the value of X bar. Again, if you see this value A1, this is the extension of this footing beyond this column A. This A1 plus X bar, if we add these two terms, what we will be getting for rectangular footing? This X bar will be at the center of this L by L, or this will be at a distance L by 2. Therefore, this X bar A1, this will be equal to L by 2. This A1 plus X bar, this value will be equal to L by 2. Okay. And again, this from right side, if we see from the right side, then we can say that L plus A2, that L, just a minute. Okay. This is A2 and this is L. So this L plus A2, this L plus A2, if we deduct this particular distance X bar from this, if we deduct this distance X bar from this, then we will get this distance. Okay, this will be again L by 2. Okay, so this particular distance will be again L plus A minus X bar. This will be equal to L by 2. Okay, this will be again L by 2. So we have got three equations. We have got three equations. X bar, this X bar is equal to W2 into small l divided by W1 plus W2. Again, equation number 2 is A1 plus x bar, this is equal to L by 2, and again we have got L plus, that is small l, plus A2 minus x bar, this is equal to L by 2. So we have to keep all these three equations in mind while designing this particular footing. Again, bending moment and shear force diagram. When we will be drawing the shear force diagram, what we will be doing? We will be taking section on just left of this A column. We will be taking just on left of this A column. So we will get some shear force like this. Again, we will be taking one section on right of this particular column. We will be getting bending moment like this. Again, we will be doing taking the bending moment on left of this column B here. So we will be getting some value of shear force here, and again we will be taking on one section on right of this column B. We will be getting some bending moment here, sorry, shear force here, and we will be getting a shear force diagram like this. We will be getting shear force diagram like this. For bending moment diagram, what we will be doing? We will be taking bending moment at this column A. So we will be getting some bending moment like this. This will be again positive bending moment, because this is the sagging portion, sorry, hogging portion, sagging portion, hogging portion, sorry, this will be a sagging portion, therefore we will be getting some positive bending moment here. Again we are having some sagging portion here, therefore we will be getting some positive bending moment here, and we want to centroid of this particular or maximum bending moment. Now the maximum bending moment will be at a point where the shear force is, so we have to calculate this particular distance. Consider this distance is x. After calculating this particular distance small x, we can calculate the value of maximum bending moment. At the same time, what we have to do, we have to calculate the point of location of this point of contraflexure. What is point of contraflexure? The point of contraflexure is the point where the bending moment changes its sign, or the bending moment is zero. So we have to calculate this point of contraflexure. How to calculate this point of contraflexure? Just calculate the bending moment. Use this equation, mx is equal to 0, that is where bending moment is 0. We have to calculate. So just take a section xx, here and calculate the bending moment and equate that bending moment equal to 0. We will get the value of x, and this is how we will be getting the point of contraflexure. Now we'll start the design procedure. Okay, how you will be doing? You will be writing, design. Some patches are there on the screen. Okay. Now, are there some patches on the screen? Okay, Ashish Avtade is asking some patch. Yes. Where at the top or at the right portion? Okay, where are the? Just a minute. Let me check. Let me check. Just a minute. What is the Just a minute, let me check what is the problem. Okay. I think the okay this if you see this particular patch. Okay, what happens? These are my controlling portion. Okay, whenever I will be going there, you will be getting some patches there. Now, if you are seeing this particular patch here on the right portion, okay, this is for chat box that can be removed, no problem. Once I remove this chat box, that will be removed. Okay, again, this is for recording, video recording. Okay, so this can be again avoided. Okay, I don't think the vision is obstructed. Okay, at the top only you will be seeing some patch, one patch only. Okay, that is unavoidable only. Okay, so we shall continue now. Now I want one response from you whether you will be solving the problem with me on in your register, because design is not something that we'll be just hearing and okay. So I'll tell you the problem, write down the problem, and then we'll start the design. Okay, write down the problem. Design a combined footing. Just a minute. Just a minute. Just a minute. And okay, write down the problem. Design a combined footing for two columns 500 mm by 500 mm each, 5 meter apart, 5 meter apart, carrying a load of 1600 kilonewton each. Full stop. Available width, width restriction 0.4 meter. Full stop. The safe bearing capacity is 200 kilonewton per meter square, is 200 kilonewton per meter square. Use M25 concrete and Fe 415 steel. Fe 415 steel. Okay, so problem is design a combined footing for two columns 500 mm by 500 mm each and 5 meter apart, carrying a load of 1600 kilonewton each. Available width restriction is 2.4 meter. The safe bearing capacity is 200 kilonewton per meter square. Use M25 concrete and Fe415 steel. Okay, before this, what I want to tell you is there are some design constants. Those were already covered in your RCC, but I just want to revise that. Okay, before if you have written this problem, just take a note there. You can note like a design constant. Okay. Now, I think this portion is covered in your RCC only. We have this XU max upon D. Okay, XU max upon D. This formula is there in your RCC. The formula is XU max upon D is equal to 700 divided by 1100 plus 0.87 Fy. Okay, so this is the formula for XU max upon D, that is XU max upon D is equal to 700 divided by 1100 plus 0.87 Fy. Now if you provide the value of Fy in this particular equation, we can get the value for all the Fy or Fe. Okay, so if we consider Fy on one row and XU max upon D in another row, like this, you just put the value of Fy equal to 250 or Fe 250 for Fe 250. Again, we have next grade of steel as Fe 415 and again next grade of steel as Fe 500. Okay, if we put the value of Fy here equal to 250, then we'll get this value Xu max upon D is equal to 0.53. Okay, these values you have to keep in mind, that only these values, rather than keeping in mind this whole formula and then all time calculating the values, just keep these values in mind, that Xu max upon D for Fe 250 is 0.53. If you put the value of 415 in this particular equation number 1, consider this as equation number 1, then you will get the value of this Xu max upon D is equal to 0.48. Now if you put the value of Fy equal to 500 in this particular equation for Fe 500, you will get the value of Xu max upon D is equal to 0.46. You will get this value equal to 0.46. Okay, this portion is already covered in your RCC. Okay, this portion is already covered in your RCC subject. Okay, now there is another formula. Now we know that moment of resistance or maximum limiting moment, mu limiting. Okay, mu limiting is equal to what we have formula. Mu limiting is equal to Cu. Sorry, we have the formula as Cu into Z, where Cu is the compressive force and Z is the lever arm, where Cu is the compressive force and Z is the lever arm. Okay, if I draw the force diagram for any beam, okay, if this is your beam, okay, if this is your beam and if I draw the force diagram for this particular beam, okay, the force diagram will be something like this. Okay, some tension will be there and compression will be there on distance is your lever arm. This particular distance is lever arm, that is distance between Cu and Tu. Okay, this particular distance is lever arm. So total moment of resistance or limiting moment is given by Cu into Z or Tu into Z. Cu into Z or Tu into Z. We will be ignoring this portion Tu into Z. We will consider only this Cu into Z. Again, now we have this Cu value is as 0.36 FCK, 0.36 FCK into Xu max upon D multiplied by 1 minus 0.416 into xu max upon d, xu max upon d. Just let me remove this portion. So this is not required now. Xu max upon d and xu max upon d and multiplied by bd square, multiplied by bd square, multiplied by bd square. Okay, now we can consider this value. Okay, we can consider this particular value 0 from, or this particular value, we can consider this particular value as some constant, because when this xu max upon d as constant, 1 is constant, 0.416 is constant, and again xu max upon d is constant. Let us consider this constant we are considering as r. So Ru limiting, this particular constant is Ru limiting. So we get this value mu limiting, we get this value mu limiting is equal to Ru limiting multiplied by bd square, multiplied by bd square, where this Ru limiting, this is equal to 0.36 FCK multiplied by xu max upon d, again multiplied by 1 minus 0.416, sorry, 1 minus 0.416 xu max upon d, xu max upon d, xu max upon d. So this is the value of Ru limiting. Now you can, if you know the value of fck, you know the value of f pi, then you can know the value of xu max upon d. So you will get some constant value of Ru limiting for every value of Fe, or that is the tensile strength of steel. For every value of tensile strength of steel, you will get some value your portion, then okay, otherwise I'll send you it in PDF. Okay, have you done with this? Okay, I will continue, or okay, I will continue now. Sorry. Okay, so we have this value Ru limiting. So we have this value Ru limiting is equal to 0.36 FCK into xu max upon d into multiplied by 1 minus 0.416 xu max upon d. Okay, now if we take on one row Fe, or tensile strength of steel, and on one row Ru limiting. Now for Fe 250, for Fe 415, and for Fe 500. Okay, we know the value of xu max upon d, and we only don't know the value of FCK here. In this particular formula, we initially we don't know. If we don't have any problem with us, then we don't know the value of FCK. Now put the value of xu max upon d equal to 0.53 in this particular equation. We have already calculated the value of xu max upon d for every value. Okay, you know this value. We know here for Fe 250, we have the value of xu max upon d is equal to 0.53. Just put this value of 0.53 in this equation of Ru limiting, then we'll get the value of Ru limiting is equal to we'll get the value of Ru limiting as 0.1489 into FCK, 0.1489 into FCK. Now put the value of this Fe 415, that is 415, for Fe 415 value of xu max upon d, we have xu max upon d for Fe 415 is equal to 0.48. Just put this value here in xu max upon d, will get Fe for Fe 415 value of RU limiting, is equal to 0.1381 into FCK, 0.1381 into FCK. And again, we know the value of SU max upon D for Fe 500 is equal to 0.46. 0.46, put this value of 0.46 in this equation in place of this SU max upon D. So we get the value of RU limiting is equal to 0.133 into FCK, 0.133 into FCK. So this is how we get the value of RU limiting. If we put this value of RU limiting in this particular equation of MU limiting, or in this equation MU limiting here, okay, if we put this value of RU limiting in this equation, that is in this particular equation, MU limiting is equal to RU limiting into BD square. What we'll be getting is, okay, now what we'll be getting is for Fe 250, for Fe 250, what we'll be getting value of this value of MU limiting. We have this MU limiting is equal to RU. We have MU limiting is equal to for Fe 250, we have MU limiting. This MU limiting, the formula is RU limiting multiplied by BD square, Now for Fe 250, we have this MU limiting. This will be equal to RU limiting. We have RU limiting is equal to 0.148 into FCK, and again we have this value BD square. So for the value of MU limiting for Fe 250 will be 0.148 into FCK BD square. Okay, now for Fe 415, MU limiting will be equal to this value will be equal to, put this value of RU limiting is equal to 0.138 FCK. In this equation we will get 0.1381 FCK BD square. Now for Fe 500, we get this MU limiting is equal to, put the value of RU limiting is equal to 0.133 FCK in this equation. We'll get this value of MU limiting for Fe 500 is equal to 0.133 FCK BD square. 0.133 FCK BD square. Okay, this whole portion is covered in your RCC. Okay, now again we have one more formula. As we know that this MU limiting is equal to RU into BD square, or RU limiting into BD square. You can say RU or RU limiting here. Okay, then we can calculate the depth of any beam. D is equal to just, or you can say D square is equal to, take this value RU into B. On left hand side we'll get MU limiting, we get MU limiting upon RU into B. We'll get D square, we'll get this D square is equal to MU limiting upon RU into B. Just to calculate the value of D, take square root on both the sides, we'll get this MU limiting divided by RU into B in under root. Okay, so this is how we can calculate the depth of any beam or slab. We can calculate the depth of any beam or slab by using this particular formula, that is D. This D is equal to under root MU limiting divided by RU into B. By using this particular formula, we can calculate the value of depth of any beam or slab. Okay, so up to this point, your this portion is covered in RCC 1. Now we will start with the design procedure. So we'll start with the design procedure. Just a minute. Okay, we'll be starting with the design procedure. Okay, so our problem was, okay, I just read out the problem. Design a combined footing for two columns 500 mm by 500 mm each, 5 meter apart, carrying a load of 1600 kilonewton each. Available width restriction is 2.4 meter. The shape bearing capacity is 200 kilonewton per meter square. Use M25 concrete and Fe 415 steel. ओके, इसके बाद आपका कुछ लेक्चर वगैरह नहीं है ना? ओके, कौन है ये? Pallavi Pawar is telling that instead of 0.143, can we take 0.15? Okay, 0.15? No. Okay, we cannot take 0.15. We have to take 143 only. 0.143. इसके बाद कुछ लेक्चर वगैरह है आपका नहीं है ना? Can I continue for one more hour? Can I continue? Okay, give fast responses. Okay, I can continue now. Okay, so we'll start the design now. Combined footing for two columns 500 mm by 500 mm each, 5 meter apart, carrying a load of 1600 kilonewton each. Available width restriction is 2.4 meter. The shape bearing capacity is 200 kilonewton per meter square. Use M25 concrete and Fe 415 steel. Okay, I think shape bearing capacity concept is already covered in your RCC as well as geotechnical engineering. This grade of steel and concrete are also covered already. Okay, so I'll start with the design, given data. Step number one, we'll start with the step number one. Okay, step number one. Is given data. So what is given to us? Column size is given. So column size is 500 mm by 500 mm. Okay. Again, what is given to us is the value of small l is given. The value of small l, that is distance between two columns, is equal to distance between columns this is given as 5 meter. This is given as 5 meter. Okay, each column is carrying a load of 1600 kilonewton. Okay, so we have this W1 is equal to 1600 kilonewton, and again W2 is equal to 1600 kilonewton. We have again W2 is equal to 1600 kilonewton. We have available width restriction is 2.4 meter. That is, the width of footing is given as 2.4 meter. Okay, you cannot increase this width. Okay, you can increase the length, but you cannot increase the width of your footing. So we have some restriction over the width of this particular footing. Again, what is given is, we have been given the shape bearing capacity, So S shape bearing capacity is equal to Q0. This is given as 200 kilonewton per meter square. This is given as 200 kilonewton per meter square. And last, we have been given the grade of concrete M25 and grade of steel Fe 415. Grade of steel Fe 415. Now for Fe 415, step 2, consider step 2, design constants. Consider design constant. Okay. Now for Fe415, we have the value of XU max upon D. We have the value of XU max upon D. This value, how much is the value? This value is 0.48, 0.48. Okay. And correspondingly, the value of RU limiting, the value of RU limiting for this particular condition, that is for Fe415. For Fe415, the value of RU limiting is 0.1381 into FCK. We know the value of FCK. We have FCK is equal to 25 Newton per mm square. We have FCK is equal to 25 Newton per mm square. Just put the value of FCK in this equation, RU limiting, we get the value of RU limiting. So RU limiting, this is equal to 0.138 multiplied by 1381 multiplied by FCK, that is FCK is 25. So we'll get the value of RU limiting is equal to, okay, how much is this? Okay, I haven't calculated this. Okay, if you have calculator, just let me know how much is this. 0.1381 FCK, that is equal to 3. RU limiting is 3.45. Okay, so we get this value at 3.45. So RU limiting is 3.45. Just let me calculate it. Zero point 138. So we get 3.45 value of RU limiting. Okay, up to this, is there any problem? Whatever I am writing, is it visible to you? Whatever I am writing, is it visible to you? Okay, so it is visible. Now we'll go to next step. Okay. Now next step number 3. Now step number 3. Step number 3 is to find the area of footing. So step number 3 is to find area of footing. To find area of footing. Now the total load or superimposed load on this particular footing, imposed load, total superimposed load on this footing, this is equal to, we have W1 plus W2. So we have W1 is equal to 1600 kilonewton plus W2 again W2 is again 1600 kilonewton, so 200 kilonewton. So total superimposed load on this particular footing is 3200. Now there will be some self weight of this footing will be there. So self weight of footing. Okay, so we assume that we will be assuming the self weight of this footing is 10% of total superimposed load on footing. So we'll be assuming that 10 total superimposed this is equal to 10% of total superimposed load. This is equal to 10% of total superimposed load. So we have 10% multiplied by total superimposed load is 3200. So 3200. So self weight of this footing will be equal to, how much is that? How much is that? Just a minute. Just a minute. Uh, just a minute. So that will be equal to 320. So that will be equal to 320. So okay, if you have any problems, then write in chat box. Okay, don't just raise your hand, mute. So it will be better to write your queries in the chat box only. Okay, so this will be equal to 320 kilonewtons. So self weight of your footing will be equal to 320. Therefore, total load on footing on your footing, this will be equal to load or superimposed load from column. This will be equal to superimposed load from columns plus self weight of footing plus self weight of footing. So this is equal to, therefore total load on your footing will be equal to, so this is equal to, we have superimposed load is equal to 3200 plus self weight of your footing as 300 to 3520 kilonewtons. So this is equal to 3520 kilonewtons. This is the total superimposed load on your, this will be total load on your footing. This will be total load, just a minute. This will be total load on your footing. Let me leave this question. It can be useful for further discussion. Just a minute. The PC is a bit slow. Okay, I'll get the query first. Okay, sir, at all conditions, can we have to take self weight is 10% of superimposition? Yes, we have to take self weight as 10% of superimposed load always, because we don't know the self weight of your footing. Okay, therefore we have to take that as a 10% of your self weight, total superimposed load. Just leave this question. Okay, so we were here. So total load on footing we have calculated as 3520. Okay, this is our step number 2. This is our step number just a minute. This was this was step number 3, that is to find out the area of footing. To find out the area of footing, we have calculated the total load on your footing. Now, next we have to calculate the area of footing. Now we have one formula for calculating area of footing, the same which we have used for calculating the area of footing in case of isolated footing. We have area of footing, we have this area of footing is equal to total load on footing, divided by safe bearing capacity, because see, we have SBC is equal to load, total load divided by area of footing. Therefore, we can use this formula like area of footing is equal to shape bearing capacity. Area of footing is equal to shape bearing capacity. Area of footing is equal to total load on footing divided by shape bearing capacity. So we have total load on footing is equal to 3,520. So 3,520 divided by shape bearing capacity. The value of shape bearing capacity is given in the problem 200 kilonewton per meter square. 200 kilonewton per meter square is the given value of shape bearing capacity, or we can continue this as W1 plus W2 plus self weight divided by Q0. Q0 is the shape bearing capacity. So we get this value of area of footing, so is equal to how much it is? The area of footing will be equal to 17.6 kilonewton, meter square. 17.6 meter square. So we have got this area of footing is equal to 17.6 meter square. Already we have been given the value of B is equal to 2.4 meter. We have already been given the value of B 2.4 meter. Now one thing I wanted to point here is that the value of shape bearing capacity. Okay, the value of shape bearing capacity Q0. This is not automatically got value. Okay, this you have to obtain by testing at the site. Whichever test site you have to do that particular test, and then you will get the value of this shape bearing capacity Q0. Then you will get the value of this shape bearing capacity value. You have to keep in mind. Okay, for only solving this problem, you have been directly given the value of Q0. But when you will be designing any footing at the practical point of view, or as a engineer, then you will have to get this value of shape bearing capacity by doing some tests. At the same time, the width of footing is given some restriction. There may be some condition that you have this distance 2.4 meter only. Okay, there may be condition that on this side you have footing of another isolated footing. You may have another isolated footing on this side also. So you have some restriction of 2.4 meter width only. 2.4 meter width is given for this particular problem. Okay, there may be some problem due to some other isolated footing, or there may be a problem that you have some property line here. Okay, your property ends here, so your property may end on this side. So there is therefore you have been given some limitation of this width. So width is given as B, and we know that area of footing is equal to length into breadth is equal to length into breadth. There is equal to this L. This L is equal to, we can say, area of footing divided by breadth. Area of footing divided by breadth. We have area of footing is equal to 17.6. So 17.6 divided breadth of footing is 2.4 meter. Therefore, we get the length of footing is equal to how much? 7.33 meter. So we have got this length of footing is equal to 7.33 meter. Yes, sir. Okay, 7.33 meter. Let us consider this is equal to 7.4 meter. Just round off this. So we have got this length is equal to 7.4 meter. So we get this length is equal to 7.4 meter, 2.4 meter, whereas area of footing is equal to 7.4 multiplied by 7.4 multiplied by 2.4. So this is equal to 7.4 multiplied by 2.4. How much it is? How much it is? 7.4 multiplied by 2.4. 17.76 meter square. 17.76 meter square. Okay. So this is how we have to calculate calculate the area of footing. Next we have to proportionate the footing in such a way coincides with the centroid of your load. Okay. Just a minute. Okay, let us assume this length of footing as 7.5 instead of 7.4. Okay, we'll be assuming this as 7.5 because I have done all the calculations as per 7.5 only. So let us assume this as 7.5. Length of footing is 7.5. Therefore, this area will be, recalculate this area. Okay, area of footing will be, this will be 7.5 again, that will be 18. Okay, so this is 18 meter square. We got the area as 18 meter square. Now we have to, this is a rectangular footing having two columns having same loads. Therefore, definitely this CG of this particular loads will be at the center between these two loads, that is at a distance 2.5 meter from each load, and the centroid will be centroid of the centroid of the footing will be at L by 2. Now have to reposition the columns and footing location. Now if you see, if this is your footing in plan, if this is your footing in plan and this is your column C1, let us consider column C1, and this is your column C2. Okay, this is your column C1 and this is your column C2. Now we have to determine or calculate the some load W1 is acting here, some load W1 is acting on this column, some load W2 is acting on this column. This the centroid of this CG of this two loads will be acting somewhere here, that is W1 plus W2. This will be the combined effect of this W1 plus W2 will be acting. Let us consider this is acting at a distance x bar from the center of this column C1. It is acting at a distance x bar from center of this column C1. Therefore, we have this x bar. We have this x bar equation is equal to W2 into small l, W2 into small l divided by W1 plus W2. Draw this figure. Okay, draw this figure and we get this x bar is equal to W2 into L divided by W1 plus W2. We have W2 is equal to 1600 kilonewton multiplied by value of small l is 5 meter. This is given in your problem. W1 is again 1600 plus 1600. So we get the value of x bar. We get the value of x bar is equal to how much it is? It will be 2.5 meter. X bar is equal to 2.5 meter. Now we have to calculate the value of A1 and A2. Now we have this A1, that is projection of this footing beyond the center of C1. This is considered as A1, and A2. A2 is the projection of this footing beyond the A2 is the projection of this footing beyond the center of this column C2. Now we have already this equation A1 for we already have these equations for A1 and A2. We have A1 plus x bar is equal to L by 2. We have L is where L is equal to 7.5 meter, where L is equal to 7.5 meter. Therefore, put the value of x bar and L by 2 in this equation. We will get A1 plus x bar is 2.5 meter is equal to L by 2. We have 7.5 divided by 2. Therefore, we will be getting this value A1 is equal to how much A1? Okay, that will be 1.25. A1 is equal to 1.25 meter. So we got this value A1 is equal to 1.25 meter, or I will write here 1.25 meter. Just delete this. So we have got this A1 as 1.25 meter. Now again we have another equation as small l plus A2 minus L by 2 is equal to L by 2. Put all the values in this equation. We have small l is equal to 5 meter plus we don't know the value of A2. So write A2 minus x bar. We have x bar is equal to 2.5 meter. 2.5 is equal to 7.5 divided by 2 is equal to, therefore we can calculate the value of A2 from this equation. So we get A2 is equal to, just take this 5 and minus 2.5 on right hand side, you will get the value of A2. So we get the value of A2 is equal to how much? How much? Okay, you can write in the chat box. It is equal to 1.25 meter again. 1.25 meter again. So we have got this value. A2 is equal to 1.25 meter. 1.25 meter. Now again, what we have, we know this distance. Small l. This small l is equal to 5 meter. This small l is equal to 5 meter. Now we have to calculate this distance between the edge of this footing to the distance of face of this column, to the distance of face of this column. Let us consider this as small b1. Let us consider this as small b1. Okay, so we get this b1. b1 is equal to this capital B by 2. b1 is equal to this capital B by 2 minus small b by 2. Let us consider small b is the width of this column. So this will be equal to, we have capital B as 2.4 meter, capital B as 2.4 meter. Okay, this is 6. So this 2.4 divided by 2 minus small b by 2. Small b is 0.5 meter or 500 mm is our width of column. So this will be equal to, so B1 will be equal to how much it is? So this will be equal to 0.95. So this will be equal to, this will be equal to 0.95. So this will be equal to 0.95. So we have got this value of D1. This will be equal to 0.95. Again here again this will be again 0.95 because the columns are linearly positioned. Therefore this is again 0.95. Okay. So up to this point, is there any problem? Up to this point, is there any problem? Up to this point, is there any problem? No problem. Okay, we'll continue. Calculate the factored soil pressure on the footing. We have to calculate the footing. So next step number is I think step number is 3. Just a minute, let me check. Step number 3 हुआ है. The next step is step number 4. Next step is step number 4. Now step number 4. Okay, next step is step number 4. Step number 4. The step number 4 is to calculate the factored soil pressure. To calculate the factored soil pressure. To calculate the factored soil pressure. Now we know that the formula for calculating the factored upward soil pressure, the upward soil pressure okay, this is equal to total load on column from column, total load from columns divided by area of footing, Okay, this is the formula. This is the formula. Upward soil pressure is equal to total load from columns divided by area of footing. We have total load from the columns is 1600 from one column plus 1600 from another column divided by we have area of footing is equal to 7.5 multiplied by 2.4 meter, or you can directly take the value 18. So this will be equal to the total upward soil pressure will be equal to how much it is? Okay, you have to use the calculator simultaneously. So how much it is? 177.78, or we can directly write 177.8 kilonewton per meter square. 177.8 kilonewton per meter square. This is upward soil pressure, unfactored. This is upward soil pressure. This is upward soil pressure due to load of your footing. Now we have to consider this as factored soil pressure. So multiply it with the factor of safety. Therefore, we get this factored soil pressure is equal to 1.5 multiplied by 177.8. Okay, so this is how we will be getting the factored soil pressure. So factored soil pressure is how much it will be? It will be 266.7. Okay. It will be 266.7 kilonewton per meter square. So this is the factored soil pressure. Now next step number 5. Step number 5 is now we have to design in longitudinal direction. Therefore, upward soil pressure we have to calculate per unit length. We have to calculate the upward soil pressure per unit length. So for design in longitudinal direction, upward soil pressure Okay, now we have to design in the longitudinal direction. Therefore, we have to calculate the upward soil pressure per unit length along the longitudinal direction. Okay, इसके पहले मैंने बताया था आपको कि how our load distribution is taking place. Okay, तो इस पर्टिकुलर स्लाइड में आया था वो कि how our load distribution is taking place. Okay. Now in longitudinal direction, we know that the pressure on footing. Okay, if you see the three-dimensional view, how the footing will be? The footing will be like this. Okay, if we see the bottom plane, of your footing, let us consider this is your bottom plane of footing. Okay, and there will be some top plane again. Like this, there will be some top plane. Okay, now the pressure will be like this. Okay, the pressure will be like this on this footing. Okay, again here. Okay, so throughout the bottom phase there will be some uniform distribution pressure. Okay, if we see in elevation, the pressure will be like this. This pressure is in kilonewton per meter square. This pressure is in kilonewton per meter square. Now what we are doing, we are considering that this particular footing in longitudinal direction, this is the longitudinal direction. Along the length of footing, it is a longitudinal direction. Now in longitudinal direction, what we are doing, we are assuming that this is a beam, this is a complete beam, and some portion of this particular beam is cantilever for this particular region, cantilever for this particular region, whereas the remaining portion of your beam, this remaining portion, this is supported on these two columns. Okay, so we need to design this particular footing as a beam having width B. अगर इसको as a beam डिजाइन करना है, so we need the loading in kilonewton per meter. We need the loading in kilonewton per meter. So we'll convert this loading which we have calculated in kilonewton per meter. Okay. अब वो कैसे कैलकुलेट करना है, एक मिनट. So we have calculated this factored soil pressure as 266.7 kilonewton, 266.7 kilonewton per meter square. We have to convert this into kilonewton per meter. Therefore, this will be equal to this 266.7 multiplied by width of footing. So this will be equal to 266.7 multiplied by, we have width of footing is equal to 2.4 meters. So we'll get this upward soil pressure per unit length. So this will be equal to, how much it is? It will be equal to 640. We'll consider 640. It is 640.08. But we'll consider this as a 640 kilonewton per meter. Okay. So this is the upward soil pressure. Now if this is your beam, this is in kilonewton per meter. Now if this is your footing, we are considering this as a beam and it is okay, or column reaction, we can say column reaction. Now this loading is 640 kilonewton per meter square. This loading, okay, this loading is 640 kilonewton per meter square. Okay, and this load here, the load is 1600 kilonewton Okay, again here the column load is 1600 kilonewton. Okay, so we have converted this kilonewton per meter square loading into kilonewton, sorry, this will be kilonewton per meter. This will be, just a minute, this will be kilonewton per meter only. This will be kilonewton per meter. So this load on the footing, if we are designing this as a beam, then this load is 640 kilonewton per meter. 640 kilonewton per meter. Now we have to calculate the bending moment and shear force for this particular beam. So we'll be calculating first the shear force for this particular beam. Okay, we are designing this particular footing as a beam which is supported on two columns with some portion as cantilever portion, some portion on the right hand side as cantilever, and yeah, Sanjay Patai, क्या म्हणणं आहे? Okay, whatever your queries are there, you can just drop that in the chat box rather than raising your hand. Okay, if you have any query, you can write it in the chat box. Okay. So we have to design this particular beam, this footing as a beam having this particular portion, as cantilever portion, and this particular portion again as a cantilever portion. Whereas this middle portion, this is supported on two columns. Now we have to draw the bending moment and shear force diagram for this particular beam. So we'll keep some location for drawing the shear force and bending moment diagram here. Let us consider this much space is sufficient to draw the bending moment and shear force diagram. We'll go down. Okay, now we have this footing. I think there is some lag. We have this footing like this. This is your footing. Some load will be here from these two columns. This footing is subjected to some uniformly distributed load, which we have just calculated. The value is 640 kilonewton per meter. 640 kilonewton per meter. So this value is 640 kilonewton per meter. And now we have to calculate the shear force and bending moment. So in this step, step number 5, we'll first go step number, or otherwise we can just consider this as A. Just a minute, it is not working properly. This is again kilonewton per meter. Let us consider shear force calculation. Shear force calculation. Okay, let us consider this as A and this as B, this as C and this as D. Okay, therefore first we'll take a section on just left side of this A. Therefore shear force at A, where on just left section. Okay, so this will be equal to, now we are taking some section here, okay, and we have to calculate the shear force. It is going in the upward direction, therefore shear force will be positive, and the load will be 640 multiplied by this particular distance. 640 multiplied by this particular distance. We have already calculated this as 1.25. So this is A1. A1 is equal to 1.25. This A2 is again equal to 1.25 meter, and this distance is 5 meter. This distance is 5 meter, and this complete distance is 7.5 meter. This distance is 7.5 meter. So if we take a section here, the shear force at just left of A will be equal to 640 multiplied by 1.25. So this will be equal to how much it is? It will be 800 kilonewton. This will be 800 kilonewton. Now shear force at A, but we are taking the section on just right hand side or right section. Okay, so this will be equal to, now we are considering the section is here. Now we are considering the section is here only. Okay, now we are considering our second section. Let us consider the second section is here. This was the first section, and this is now second section. Now this load is 1600. Okay, this load here is 1600 kilonewton. Again here the load is 1600 kilonewton. Okay, the load is 1600 kilonewton. Now this 640 kilonewton per meter is going in upward direction. Therefore that will be positive. Therefore 640 multiplied by 1.25. Now this 1600 kilonewton load is going in downward direction. This 1600 kilonewton load is going in downward direction. Therefore it will be considered as a negative. Therefore it is considered as a negative 1600. Now, but this is a unfactored load. This 1600 is unfactored load, whereas this 640 is a factored soil pressure. Is a factored soil pressure. Therefore, multiply this 1600 with 1.5. Therefore, multiply with this 1.5. Let us reason is 1.5 is equal to factor of safety. 1.5 is your factor of safety. This 1.5 is your factor of safety. Okay, is there any problem in this 1.5? Is there any problem in this 1.5? We are considering this 1.5 as a factor of safety because this 640 is factored soil pressure, but this 1600 is not factored load. Therefore, we are multiplying this 1600 with the 1.5. Now, next step is, now we have to calculate the shear force B. We have to calculate the shear force at this particular location B. Let us consider section on just left hand side. We have to consider the section on left section. We are considering the section left side. Okay, we are considering the section on just left side. Let us consider this is your section number 33. This is your section number 33. Then the shear force here will be, this 1600 is going in clockwise direction. Therefore, 1600 multiplied by 1600 multiplied by 1600 multiplied by 1.5. Why 1.5? Because we are considering factor 1.5 as factor of safety. This is 1600 multiplied by 1.5, and this 640 multiplied by 1.25 is going in the upward direction. Therefore, 1600 into 1.5 minus 640 into 1.25. So this shear force will be equal to, this shear force will be equal to, how much it will be? How much it will be? sorry, we have kept this one. Okay, this value will be, okay, we haven't calculated the value for here only. Just a minute. The shear force here, that is on just right section of this A, this will be equal to 640 into 1.25 minus 1600 into 1.5. So this will be equal to, कितना आएगा? I think minus 1600. So this is minus 1600. Am I right? It is minus 1600, and here it will be how much? Plus 1600. This will be plus 1600 kilonewton. Okay, this will be minus 1600 kilonewton. Now, the right hand side of this section B. So let us consider this as section number 4. Let us consider this as section number 4. Therefore, shear force at B, and section is on right of or right side. Okay, so this will be equal to, if we are considering this particular section number 4, then the shear force will be minus 640 into 1.25. So this will be equal to minus 800. This will be equal to minus 800 kilonewton. This will be equal to minus 800 kilonewton. So we have to just draw the shear force diagram here. The shear force diagram will be something like this. We have here how much? I think it is, sorry, just a minute. Okay, we have here just a minute. Okay, we have to draw the shear force diagram. Now the shear, we have to draw the shear force diagram. So draw one reference line. The shear force at this point is 0. Okay, on just left hand side, this will be positive 800. So positive 800. On the left hand side, it is minus 1600. So minus 1600. At here, it is again on left hand side, it is plus 1600. So plus 1600, and on right hand side it is 800. So join these lines, just a minute. So join these lines. So we have here 1600 minus, and here is in again kilonewton. This is in again kilonewton, and 800 kilonewton here again. Okay. Just a minute, I'll redraw this because we won't have space for drawing the bending moment diagram. Okay. So the shear force diagram will be like this: 800 plus 1600 minus So shear force diagram is here 800 kilonewton. Here again we have 1600 kilonewton. We have here 1600 kilonewton, and here we have 800 kilonewton. This is minus, this is positive, this is minus, this is again positive. So this is how our shear force diagram will be there. Okay, up to this point I don't think any problem is there. Okay, is there any problem up to this point? Now next step is to draw the bending moment diagram. To draw the bending moment diagram, we'll go down. Okay, shall we? Or we should continue because computer is not working properly. Shall we stop here or continue? Okay, stop now. Okay, I'll stop here and we'll continue tomorrow. Okay. Is there any problem in writing down along with me, because there may be some okay, no problem. Okay, so we'll continue tomorrow onwards. Okay. Okay. You can leave the class now. Okay. Thank you.